we see a lot of other MSPs that do this as well. They'll say that we will take care of your IT needs. Like, look out for that. That's like a bad answer. If they say that they'll do everything for you, they cannot. Usually what ends up happening is that when somebody says that they're willing to do everything for you, they haven't taken the time to figure out what it is that they're actually going to like put limits on. And when you don't put limits on anything, you can't get good at anything. You can't say that I'm going to be really, really good at providing, high quality help desk services. I can't be really, really good at providing cybersecurity services because you don't know where you stop training, right? It's a mile wide. You can never be in depth on it. And there's certain things that are really important to be in depth on.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Voices of Verticomm. If you like the content, be sure to follow, like, subscribe, and share on all the social media networks. On YouTube, we're at Verticomm IT Solutions. So I'm Andrew Goodwin, Marketing Specialist with ACP and Verticomm, here again today with Will Martin, CTO of ACP and Verticomm. Will, who is Verticomm?
Verticomm is a managed IT service provider. We have been in business since 1999, and we provide managed services to hundreds of customers across the Midwest. We help businesses by modernizing, securing, and supporting their technology needs.
Voices of Verticomm it's our video podcast, and it's designed to share the knowledge we've learned from over 25 years in business, featuring experts from across our company and beyond. So keep an eye out for future episodes featuring clients and other just colleagues in the industry. So today we want to talk about Verticomm.
Yes.
But we don't want it to come across as just an advertisement.
Yeah, which we kind of acknowledge is a hard thing to do.
It is. So we found a workaround. We want to kind of generalize it into what someone should look for in an IT services provider. So our plan to address that is I'm going to take on the role of a skeptical business owner who's looking for guidance and questions answered and basically a holistic MSP for my company. And Will is going to take on the role of a consultant in the field who can answer my questions and offer guidance for me.
Yes. Yeah. And just to reiterate, we know what we're doing here. Like, we really do want to talk about Verticomm. We want to share with the audience, what it is that we do and why we think we're amazing at it. But we also get that we really want this to be knowledge sharing based. We want to help people that kind of regardless of who they end up going with, it should be beneficial to them. I think this is a good way to balance it out. We'll answer it broadly, what the businesses need and what they should be looking at, and then we'll give them an answer, and then we'll say, eventually we'll tie it into how it is that we do that.
Perfect. So Verticomm is a managed service provider or an MSP. What is that? Yeah.
So I guess we should lay that out before we actually go fully into our back and forth here. So a managed services provider is a third-party entity to businesses who can handle their IT needs. And there can be a lot of reasons why that gets pulled in, whether they just need assistance, they have really competent staff on hand and they have a particular need that's not filled, or they want to replace their entire IT, internal IT needs with an external service provider. It is just an external entity that provides IT, cybersecurity, technology-related services.
And would you say that this matters more than it used to?
It's
to have one for my business.
I'll say that having somebody, whether it's a managed services provider or a team of engineers on staff or, whoever it is vital to have somebody that is responsible for your technology.
Okay. So that being the case, there must be a wide gamut or spectrum of companies that provide these services in terms of maybe it can be a one-man show or it can be a massive enterprise. So talk a little bit about that spectrum there.
Yeah. So when you're looking for, somebody to manage your technology services, that essentially comes down to a couple of different ways. And obviously it depends, scale depends on how big of a business you are and how you leverage technology. But it essentially comes down to hiring a team internally or bringing in people from the outside. And when you're bringing in somebody from the outside to help you with your IT services, that breaks down into really what we consider small, medium, and large service providers. A small service provider, for example, would be somebody that is starting their own IT business, somebody that is a one-man band who can, companies can call on. Maybe they don't need a full-time engineer, so they'll pay somebody, to come work with them 20 hours a week, or less or more, somewhere in there. But a small business with like 1 to 5 individuals. That's one option in that range of external service providers. Medium is realistically where we fall in. Where right now we're about 50 staff on the team for Verticomm that's driving our IT services, and then you have large, which is enterprise level. You have an entity that's got thousands of staff behind providing a service. And the big difference that we can probably talk about a little bit more here is that between medium and large is usually hyper focused on providing a very specific service to as many people as they can. Small is providing as flexible and wide of a service as they can to a very small number of people. And so medium sort of bridges that gap between the two of them, a wide range of services, a wide range of capabilities, still providing focus to what they, still providing focus to what they provide and expertise to it, but not so large that they have zero flexibility.
So what are some questions businesses like myself should be asking potential partners?
Yeah, great question. So there's certainly some that will depend on your business. You should ask that are like specific to whatever it is you do. If you make bolts or you make screws or you make houses or whatever it is. But realistically, there's 5 things that I would probably tell every business to ask whoever it is that they're looking to get IT services from, especially if they're doing lots of services, like they're really entrusting a lot of their technology environment to them. And some of them are sort of obvious and some of them are not. The first question is, do they follow a framework? And where do they follow frameworks? And the reason why I think this is a really important question is because we're gonna sneak in Verticomm to talk about, just to contextually answer it a little bit more accurately. We've been through growing from small to large. And when you're small, you can have very, very capable people. You can have very intelligent staff. You can have very intelligent engineers. But if they have to reinvent the wheel every single time, it is, one, time consuming, right? It just takes them longer to get stuff done. But there's always variations, right? There's always something that's different, and there's always a chance that something is missed and skipped over. And then even if they did an amazing job up front, how do you know that it is still amazing, right? How do you know a year from now that it's still working? And how do you know 5 years from now that it's still working? And standards allow you to do that, right? You can get expertise from the outside, right? Leverage the world of information where we've already got really powerful, definitions on how should you do IT and how should you provide these services. And then you can measure against them continuously. So I think that's number one. That's probably the most important question.
Tell me more about these frameworks or standards that you mentioned.
Oh yeah. So then there's two different meanings that I have to this. One, they should have standards, like internally they should have something that they are aligning to, and they can answer that kind of however they want. But really what I mean is that if you say, how do you provide IT services, like ITIL is a framework for how businesses can manage and deliver IT services. And NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, they provide guidelines on how do you secure your technology. And it's only one of many, but there's well-defined structure to doing things in technology. And if they can't say that we're aligning to NIST or CIS standards, or we're adhering to CMMC standards, or we have ISO 27001, they should have a thing, and you should be able to go look up that thing, and you should see, oh, okay, so they're doing this. That's what I mean by those standards, and that's really what you should look for, and just ask if they're doing it, because as a small provider, you can't do that. The second most important question is making sure that when you're looking at their services, what are they committing to? When we provide services to customers nowadays, we very specifically have a written deliverable for what that is, but it didn't always used to be like that. And we see a lot of other MSPs that do this as well, which they'll say that we will take care of your IT needs. Like, look out for that. That's like a bad answer. If they say that they'll do everything for you, they cannot, right? I mean, and this is like this basically breaks down into, can anybody do everything? And the answer is no, right? So what is it that they're going to do? And usually what ends up happening is that when somebody says that they're willing to do everything for you, they haven't taken the time to figure out what it is that they're actually going to like put limits on. And when you don't put limits on anything, you can't get good at anything. You can't say that I'm going to be really, really good at providing, high quality help desk services. I can't be really, really good at providing cybersecurity services, because you don't know where you stop training, right? It's a mile wide. You can never be in depth on it. And there's certain things that are really important to be in depth on, which is actually a really good transition into number 3. The third thing that you should be looking for in your IT services providers is certifications. Certifications are definitely not a representation of how capable an individual is, right? There's skill that can grow from experience just as well as certifications. There's tons of experience that they can get outside the realm of like formal training, just broadly speaking. But certifications tell you if somebody else thinks that they're competent, right? Like, it tells if somebody else thinks that they're good, that's even beyond you, right? Like maybe I have a high opinion of a service provider, but they're not able to pass an exam, right? And so like then it's entirely on me to say, do I believe in what they're doing is correct? And if I'm not a technology person, if I'm a business owner and I'm not involved with it, it's really hard to assess that. And even as a technical person, that's hard to assess, is how capable somebody else is. So looking for those certifications, just seeing that a third party has said that they have them is...
Does it matter what the certifications are, or am I just looking for a certification?
It's funny. I honestly probably not specifically. Like, I could say, go look for a SOC 2 certification, go look for like anything that has a third party attestation is really good. Or at least it should be really good. And then if you have a Microsoft environment, like asking for Microsoft certifications is really good. But any certification program that a business has, like kind of whatever it is, as long as they're able to say we ensure either that we as a business are certified or that our staff are certified, is huge. Number 4 is making sure that you know what the services actually cover. And this ties really into what is a deliverable. So there's like some terms here of, do they have specifics that they've written down? And knowing what is and is not covered is really important. And if you can't look at their paperwork, if you can't ask them and say, like, not only what are your commitments, but where do your services end? Like, what would cause us to get charged more? What would cause us to fall outside of this? It's sort of both. It's like the other side of the coin. For if we, ask, what is it that you will do, and then what is it that you will not do is the other side of that. And then the 5th thing is ask them how they keep up. And this is you really can't see this in like a piece of paper. You can't see it on their website. You can't see it from it's very hard to get without just straight up asking. How do they keep up with the technology world? I mean, we talked about AI last time and how it was 2022 seems like an eon away, but it wasn't that far away, and how much AI has changed since then, how much technology has changed, how the cyber threats are changing every single day. So asking them how do they keep up is really important, and making sure that they have, a team that's doing it, making sure they've got vendors that are helping them with it. Maybe they're leaning on third parties to help fill that gap. It's just a very insightful question to ask and see what they say.
So I can just straight up ask them, how do you keep up with the latest technology, the latest threats, or whether they are, or whether they're not, or something like that?
Yeah. It's just a great question. And not everybody, most everybody will not have like an immediate answer for that. And they'll need to go ask their, how do we do this? But the answers are super enlightening when you do get it.
How does Verticomm keep up with the latest tech?
Yeah, it's a process. It's a whole thing. So one, we have a team that does it. Very specifically, we have an infrastructure team that supports the rest of the teams. And the idea here is that, we are predominantly, as our line of business, providing services external to our customers, and we need those teams to focus on that. And so we build our system to do that. But when they run into challenges, when they need support, there's another internal team behind all of that that supports them, that we subscribe to informational alerts from various like cybersecurity providers. Our third-party vendors have information networks that they distribute information on. Microsoft releases posts on what their changes are on a weekly, monthly, whatever basis they send that stuff out on. So we have a team that's dedicated to really making sure that we're keeping up with the latest changes, and we invest in it, right? We invest in R&D. We invest in taking the time to evaluate different solutions. Like the biggest thing is that we eat our own dog food, as it were. Like we use the services that we sell to customers internal at AllCopy. And AllCopy is a 500-person company, or 600 almost, I think, right now. So it's a combination of dedicated effort and like proactively going out and seeking it to keep up.
Another major thing that I would be concerned about, that I am concerned about as a business owner, is cybersecurity. I know that the world is always changing in exciting ways. Technology is always advancing. There's a flip side of that coin where that means that the threats are always advancing as well. So if I don't know anything about cybersecurity and I'm looking for a MSP to cover me, how do I know I'm protected? They might, like you're saying, they might be very good at assuring me verbally, or they might be certified in something. But how do I know I'm really protected?
I will say that you will not know that you're 100% protected. And that this is the nature of cybersecurity, and this is how highly, highly skilled individuals are trained on dealing with cybersecurity. Is that you do everything you can to protect yourself, but you accept that there is a scenario where all of that fails, right? Cybersecurity is a game of cat and mouse all the time. So you can have the latest and greatest, and then, Cloud Code or whatever comes out and hacks, one of your vendors, and all of that stuff that you've invested in doesn't work because they have a way around it. So the way what really should be the frame of mind is you should know, what am I doing proactively to reduce my risk? And, whatever the service provider is that you're looking at, you should be able to say, like, what does your cybersecurity offering, or what does your service, like, what do you guys do to reduce my risk as a business or your risk as a business? You should ask that. And then you should say, what happens if it fails? What then? And there should be an answer to that overall.
Is there maybe a red flag I should watch out for? Maybe I haven't been attacked yet, but is there something that could maybe be the canary in the coal mine?
I really think that a huge red flag is service providers that guarantee that you won't be hacked. Like if they say out loud, we guarantee you will not be hacked, they cannot make that guarantee. And that, like, regardless of their capabilities, like they truly can be the most amazing, but the words we guarantee that you will not be hacked is just, it's an immature answer is really the truth there. Even the government, right? Like in DoD style, facilities, their frame of mind is not, we have made this impenetrable fortress, so we're going to stop looking for hackers because we know that we've done so well, right? And they have billions of dollars that they dedicate to making sure that really, really sophisticated, hackers and attacks can't get through their systems. That doesn't mean that they stop logging. It doesn't mean they stop looking. It doesn't mean they don't have response plans for if it does happen. So that can be a huge red flag if somebody says, like, yeah, you won't get hacked. We'll take care of your stuff 100%. Like, it will happen, and you need to know what you're going to do when it happens, because if you don't, then that you will get hit really hard. Not by not having a plan, by not having that in place, can be hugely detrimental, and we've seen it.
I was on Verticomm's website, and I noticed that they partner with a vendor, with a partner called Huntress, to help with their cybersecurity. And that to me is a green flag, because it shows me that they're not promising me something more that they can deliver by themselves. They have a partner that helps them out with that.
Exactly. And Huntress is one of many, but really leaning into, I think, like anytime you're looking for a managed services provider, anytime you're looking for somebody to take care of your cybersecurity, I do think it's important to seek expertise, right? We talked about like certifications, and we talked about making sure we know what our deliverables are. Um, Cybersecurity is hard. Like, keeping up with technology, we would not be able to do it without vendors that own that responsibility. Um, and it's critical to make sure that they're not saying that they're doing it on their own, and there's no MSP that's providing an EDR, right? They don't develop their own in-house uh, endpoint protection platform. They're always leaning on somebody else. They're always using somebody else, and they should. Um, it's like there are MSPs out there called MSSPs, and there are MSSPs out there who will hire their own staff to monitor for things 24/7, which is great. Most MSPs, like even the largest of MSPs, have, let's say they've got 10,000 endpoints or 20,000 endpoints or whatever it is. If you compare that to Huntress, who has their own SOC and they've got a team that can watch over it, Huntress, I think, has millions of endpoints. Like, it's huge. It is magnitudes different. So, you can have all the expertise in the world, but if you're looking through a very tiny lens, you just won't be prepared for everything. So you really, really want to lean on those, third-party businesses to help provide a mature and valuable service.
Maybe I'm looking in the future and I'm wondering, I'm going to be maybe twice or three times as big as I am now.
Yeah.
There's probably going to be a point where there's going to be indications that I'm outgrowing my current MSP, or they can't quite, they don't have the bandwidth that I'm going to need in the future. Are there points of indication of whether an IT provider is too big or too small or just right, or if I've outgrown them?
Yeah, there is. And everyone's going to be different for this. Every business is going to have different needs. But yeah, there are signs that, like, if you're not getting your needs met, is really the biggest thing. And that can come across in a lot of different ways. Number one, are you just having a lot of issues frequently? That's like sort of a tangible, like, what do I deal with every day? If technology is more of a pain point for you than an enabler, like, that usually means that there's something wrong that needs to get addressed. And if you're, and it doesn't even have to be an MSP, like, you can have this struggle, and we see this a lot of the times where you have an internal team, and that internal team is very capable, but they were very capable for the business when it was half its size. And so they're faced with this question of, do I hire more people, and are you as a business capable of vetting capable technology individuals, which you may or may not be. So really focus it on, what is technology doing for you, and if it's today technology is a pain point for you and you're thinking about it all the time and you're dealing with it all the time, it may mean that, whatever you're doing for your IT and technology management is not a good fit. It may mean that there needs to be adjusted.
As a business owner, why shouldn't I just hire someone to help with my IT needs internally, in-house? When do I know I should maybe outsource it?
Yeah. And there's a lot of benefits that come with hiring somebody in-house. Like, and I'll just to address this, like, what you get when you hire somebody in-house is expertise in your systems, right? It's somebody that knows your systems in and out to a great deal of specificity, right? They know, like, oh, we know that the CFO takes his phone on vacation with him and he always forgets to turn on his VPN, right? And so he's going to call in and we got to help him get connected. And it's very boutique, right, by having somebody on site. But it's expensive. Like, like just staffing highly capable internal individuals, that can do both the level 1 help desk versus, doing the really complicated technology decisions. Like, that's just a kind of a unique person to find, somebody that wants to provide that end level support and has the skill set. It's just very difficult. And what most businesses find is that individual, if they do find these, like these sort of the hard to find individual, it's hard to find another one. And usually that individual wants to take vacation at some point, or they get tired, or they get sick. And so then you end up having to hire two highly capable individuals to provide this. And you can, right? I mean, that's absolutely an option. But there's this other option that managed services providers offer, which is there's value that you get from scale. And really what that means is that, like, your service guy, your internal guy that you may have hired, is very capable and will sit waiting for the problem, right? And if he's dealing with technology problems all the time, and if he's completely inundated, then like that's a problem, right? He needs to have that downtime, but you're paying for that downtime no matter what. Like if he's doing a really good job, you're paying for what that is. And you still do that with an MSP, but MSPs are built with scale in mind, where they know if they hire a highly capable engineer, then like when he has downtime on one business, he's going to go work on another business. So it allows those service providers to give you access to really, really capable engineers, probably more capable than what you would really ever hire for your own business, because they're scaling to many times the size of what your business needs today. And their prices will reflect that you're only using a small part of what their total capabilities are. On top of, like, when you get cybersecurity services through a managed services provider, maybe you have 100 endpoints that you need to protect. If you were to go directly to these cybersecurity vendors and say, I've got 100 endpoints, you're basically not going to get a volume discount, right? You're going to pay full MSRP for that. Whereas if you go through an MSP partner, they have tens of thousands of endpoints. They usually have some sort of volume discount, sometimes significant, and that's usually reflected in their prices. So there's a lot of benefits that you can go with, and whether or not you end up hiring an MSP to replace an individual because they left, or because that's just what you want to do as a business, or whatever it is, or if you want to just help the person that you hired to be boutique, that's a business decision, right? We see a lot of companies do that, where they have somebody that they know and they want to be that expert on site, but they want to let him take a vacation without grinding everything to a halt. And so they'll keep the internal guy, and then they'll bring on a managed services provider to sort of back them up. And that allows them to have knowledge gaps that are okay. Like maybe he's a really great server admin, maybe he's a really great executive support assistant for their technology needs, but he doesn't really understand switches, right? Or maybe he doesn't really understand how to administer 365, or whoever it is that you have. Whereas an MSP, maybe they do have that, right? They can call in their network expertise. They can call in backup for when you need something more, something special, and like a once-off or an occasional instance.
That's telling me that as I plan on growing my company, I should probably plan on just having a better experience, running into less roadblocks if I outsource as I grow as a company. I guess it doesn't make a ton of sense to have a entire boutique team. I mean, I'm sure a lot of businesses do. You can probably speak to that, but I'm sure it just seems like scalability is what you get.
Yeah. And this is like the reason why you would stick with an internal team. Like, why would you pay the premium for an internal team? One is because you can, right? If you're a huge business and you make tons of money and you've got the ability to do it, there's good reason to just hire all the top talent and bring everybody in. Like, there's good reason to do that. Like, if you look at Google or Microsoft, like they're not paying an MSP for all of their internal needs. Like, they have a team that's doing that. Even if you look at like relatively large businesses, they're building their own internal IT teams, but they still leverage third parties for their expertise, even if they have a really big internal team. It's really when you're sort of not that, when you're not in between being this like gigantic gargantuan company and being a really small company that can't afford it, anything, or it's very hard to get an individual in to provide your IT needs, let alone 5. That's really where you start looking at and benefiting from leveraging an MSP.
Well, this was all very helpful for me as a business owner, and I feel a lot more comfortable with going out and choosing a IT MSP.
Yeah, hopefully it was a good role play. I mean, we know that like if people have questions, hopefully they'll send them in to us so that we can answer, but hopefully it laid like the groundwork.
Well, it totally did. But this is a fantastic segue into who we really are, which are Verticomm Technologies, and here with Will Martin again, the CTO. So I want to ask about Verticomm and maybe some traits and merits of ours that the world should know about, especially if you're someone like the person I was just playing, a business owner.
Yeah, tie it all in.
Yeah. So there's one thing I know about Verticomm that's really cool to me, and it's the fact that they're very transparent with our services guide. We publish it publicly, I've heard, and we kind of give away the secret sauce so to speak. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and this is good. So this actually comes from a story that I shared with you, right?
Yep.
So I went to a conference, and I'll share with everybody that's listening. I went to a conference. It was the Kaseya Connect Global event. Always a great event. And I get to meet a lot of really great people. I get to meet a lot of really great MSPs. And when I sat down with one of them, we got talking about how it is that we're doing our services, and I was I was really excited to speak with them because what I learned is that they were like where Verticomm was 5 or 10 years ago, and a lot of the challenges that they were talking about is how does sales work and how do they struggle with like what is it that they're going to provide and how do they provide it. It's a fascinating conversation, and I, sort of who I am is I like to share experiences and knowledge, and I started talking about how we were there and how we got to where we were. And I started talking about how we transitioned to using standards and how we wrote our services guide and how do we deliver services today. And that was like, a fascinating conversation back and forth to talk about where we were, how it aligns with what they did and how we sort of got out of it. And in that conversation, I said, well, you can just go to our website and you can see what it is we deliver today. Like, go look at our services guide that says, here's how we have structured providing our services. He pulled it up on his phone and he was looking through it, and he was like, he was like, why do you do like, why do you share this? Like, isn't this your thing? Isn't this what makes Verticomm special? Isn't this our value? And one, I'll say, yeah, it is what makes us special and it is what makes our services valuable. Um, I'm not, we as Verticomm, and like when I'm working with the Verticomm team, we are not afraid of sharing it because number one, we know how much work goes into doing it well. We know how long it took us. I mean, it was a 3-year adventure to basically rewrite our services guide in this more mature, more capable way. So yeah, it's okay. Like, we would much rather give customers the ability to go look at this and say, can I know exactly what I'm getting from Verticomm? Can I set my expectations with that before I ever talk to anybody? Can I know what I'm getting out of it? And the answer is yes. And if at any point, like maybe you talk to a salesperson, you really like what Verticomm has done, but you need to revisit it a year from now, can you, right? Does the contract just say I'm going to provide everything, or can I go look and see what they meant by we're going to monitor your stuff, we're going to manage your stuff? And we think that that's really valuable. I mean, it's part of why we're doing this discussion, and we're trying to be really open with how we do our services. Transparency is huge, right? Making sure that you can work with a provider that is transparent and honest about what it is that they provide, we think is really important, and that's just a part of it.
What would you say is our guiding philosophy that leads us to do that?
Well, one is that we did it the other way, and we felt the pain. we had the experience of not doing it the way we do it today. We used to sell what was originally an all-you-can-eat service, and we wrote down that we will manage your stuff, we will monitor your stuff, and we'll there's various things that we would do, and we earnestly 100% did our best, right? And we really did provide quality service for many years to small businesses, but as we started to scale, we felt pain from that. And we knew that our customers felt pain from it as well in certain scenarios. And what the issue is that when you're trying to provide good services, it falls back on that example I was talking about earlier, is you can't do everything. Like, you can't, like, there are very reasonable, very practical limits that when you say that you're going to monitor something, what does that mean? And just taking the time to think those through ahead of time gave us the freedom to focus and take the services that we provide today and do them really, really well. So the philosophy is really, we just want to provide good services, and we don't know how you could do that without operating the way that we do today. And then on top of the really secondary guiding principle is being transparent and being honest and showing the value of what our services are, for all the same reasons, right? We want it to be not just us that believes this. We want our customers to understand where we're coming from as well.
Great. Yeah. Transparency is king. I mean, it makes sense to me. And that's very cool. Well, now it's time for some rapid fire questions. If there's nothing else you'd like to tack on to that really interesting conversation, but
I think so. Yeah, we can save it for other ones. We got all kinds of good topics we'll hit on next time.
Awesome. So yeah, this is something we do at the end of every episode. It's called Rapid Fire, and there's just 3 to 4 questions that I asked Will, and as always, viewers, please send in questions that we can answer on the show for future episodes as well. So first one, what's the biggest mistake businesses make when choosing an MSP?
I think the biggest mistake that businesses run into is not taking the time to understand what they're getting. And I don't think it's their fault either, by the way. I mean, we just talked about how most MSPs, or certainly smaller MSPs, it's really hard to get exact deliverables out of them. Like they really do lean into like, we'll take care of everything, or we'll just do what you need of us. And it can really put customers in a bind when they don't understand what the limits of those services are. So taking the time to make sure that you have fully vetted, like, what are they committing to and what are they not committing to. I think that was like a good, that came from our top 5 questions. I'll reiterate that a big mistake is not asking, what are your services doing exactly? Like, what does it mean? And take the time to understand, like, really, sit with them and understand, you're going to monitor my stuff. Well, how are you doing that? Right? Like, what's enabling you to do that? Because if they say that we're going to monitor your servers, like, well, how? Right? Like, are you putting an engineer on site and he's going to stare at the screen for, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? No. Like, that's not what's going to happen. So what is? There's some system that's in place. What does that system monitor? What's the things? It's technology is vast. Somebody has narrowed it down to what it is they do and don't do, and finding that out is huge.
What's the one thing you'd tell a business owner to do before signing any contract with an NSP?
Read it, read the contract, read what it says. I know that's honest. I mean, I say that a little tongue in cheek, but really, like, make sure you read what's in there, and understand, all the way back to the first one, just understand what you're signing, understand what you're getting into. And if you have questions, ask.
Good segue. What's a question that a business owner never thinks to ask or rarely thinks to ask, but should?
I think something that I'm just going to speak from internal experience that, we take on, making sure that our customers know about this, but making sure like, what else does your service provider do, I think is really big. Like, because what we found is that companies will come to us with a very specific need, and they'll say, well, I need cybersecurity. Like, I need to be compliant with this new framework that was released. Can you help me with this? And like, it's our job to sort of connect the dots on, like, oh, do you need this other thing? And can we help you with this? But just asking what else it is that they can do, and can they consolidate services? Can they provide licensing? There's like most MSPs, and I'm going to like go away from Verticomm for half a second here. Most MSPs have benefits of like they can get licensing at a lower cost. They can provide physical security. They can do like low voltage cabling. Like, oh, somebody, like, I can't plug into that port on my wall. Can you do that? Like, just ask where like, what else can they do? And let them direct you, for what that is. And then same thing, ask what they don't do. Right? I think I mean this truly at like all scales of it. Like, if you look at a service line item and they say they're going to monitor your stuff, you should know what they will and won't do. But then as a business as a whole, what will they do and what won't they do, is really important. Like, a big thing that we make really clear is that we're not insurance providers, right? We don't, we'll take care of your technology. We can make sure you're compliant, but we still want our customers to maintain their own like cybersecurity insurance, for example, because we know that that's like healthy for them to do, and it's how do you defer risk, right? How do you handle this sort of unmanageable risk? So just knowing where they end and begin throughout, very important.
Last one. Why should a business partner with Verticomm?
Yeah. Businesses should partner with Verticomm if they're looking for a mature service provider. We provide services for monitoring, management, and service desk, and we have thought through what that service should do for the business. And we thought it through from the perspective of their technology. Like, what does the technology require that people are using today to take care of? How do you handle things proactively, which is really, really important, that you as, business owners should be thinking about is, I don't want to only react, right? I don't want to only take care of things when they break, because that's very disruptive. You should be talking about, how do I prevent things from breaking in the first place? Verticomm has that. And then partnering with us because we've vetted the solutions that businesses need. We know that every business is unique. We know that every business has their own special way of doing things. Broadly speaking, technology is very well defined, right? Like there are things that you can do within technology that are unique. But if you need to handle your users' identities, you might have a way that you do it within the system, but identity is a very well defined mechanism in technology. Like, how do you handle your staff identities? But somebody needs to say what's like the preferred method for doing that for small businesses. We have done that. We know that we want to leverage intra ID, or we know that we want to leverage some sort of like central identity source for our customers. We know that when they're using their applications, we want to leverage SSO. We know that if you're using a central identity provider with SSO, you need to do certain things to secure it, like turn on MFA. And we have frameworks that are built around that. And we have our own internal standards that have built around it that are, if we bring on a customer who hasn't been aligned, they don't have structure, we have taken the time to figure out like what is a good setup for this that still allows the business to be unique, still allows the business to be flexible, but is really that baseline to bring them up to the standard to proactively take care of whatever is they want to do, or proactively take care of whatever could be an issue for them.
Well, that about wraps it up. Thank you, Will, for sitting down with me today once again.
Yeah.
For the viewers, how does anyone get in contact with us?
First and foremost, if anybody's interested in knowing more about how we do things or what it is that we do, our website is a great resource, but we're always happy to talk. So feel free to reach out, feel free to call us. There's links on pretty much every social media platform that'll get back to us, but it's verticomm.com. And then you can find phone numbers, you can register to get somebody to contact you. Even if you're just curious, reach out and we can talk about it and see where it goes.
And this is all over social media as well. So drop a comment if you ever want to ask a question that we can answer in the show.
Yes, we will answer it. Yes.
We will answer it. Yes.
Yep.
So thanks for watching, guys. Remember to follow, subscribe, like, share, comment, leave a review. And thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.